Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Welcome back, folks. Today, we're diving into some important updates around federal procurement and acquisition, specifically the executive orders that are shaking things up. We're focusing on the consolidation of procurement and the overhaul of the FAR, or Federal Acquisition Regulation.
That's right, and these changes are massive. We've got new mandates pushing for faster processes, cost reductions, and improved efficiency. A big part of this is empowering GSA to take more control, right?
Exactly. GSA is stepping up its role, aiming to streamline procurement and cut waste. They're even being tasked with managing government-wide contracts for IT products and services, known as GWACs. This is a huge responsibility.
It's a game changer for sure. And it's not just about consolidation. It's about rethinking how the government does business with industry, which will directly affect contractors and procurement professionals.
Yeah, and one of the key elements here is how the General Services Administration, or GSA, is being given more control over these contracts to avoid duplication and waste. GSA is looking at everything from contracts for IT services to office management.
So essentially, the goal is to create a more unified, efficient way of handling contracts across federal agencies. But what does that mean for small businesses?
Well, small businesses will see some benefits. GSA's already been successful in supporting them. And with the new executive order, there's an emphasis on making sure that small businesses still have access to these contracts. There will be new opportunities to enter the market and potentially fewer barriers for them.
That's important because while the consolidation aims to cut down on redundancy, it's not supposed to shut out smaller players. In fact, there's a big push to support them. But let's talk about the mechanics of this reform. How does the new FR overhaul play into all this?
Good question. The FAR Overhaul, as laid out by the executive orders, is aimed at simplifying the rules around procurement. The FAR is currently a huge document with a lot of regulations, and the goal is to strip it down to what's essential.
And what's essential in this case?
Well, the FAR Overhaul is focusing on removing the non-statutory requirements and streamlining processes. It's about making procurement faster, more efficient, and less burdensome for businesses, especially those new to government contracting. But it's not just about reducing rules. It's about empowering GSA to create tools and resources that help agencies navigate the new rules.
So the new FAR will have a lot less of the how-to and more of the core legal necessities. This is where we'll see a shift, right? Less clutter, more focus.
Exactly. The goal is to eliminate unnecessary steps while still ensuring transparency and accountability. One big change is reducing the amount of shall language, which often restricts flexibility. Instead, procurement officers will have more discretion to make decisions based on what best serves the government's needs.
That means more flexibility for contracting officers, right? But there's also going to be a shift in how contracts are awarded and managed?
Yes, that's right. Under the new executive orders, GSA will oversee more contracts and work with agencies to align procurement processes. This will involve consolidating contracts, like GWACs, which could simplify things for contractors, but it will also challenge them to rethink how they approach bids.
And then there's the whole process of consolidating contracts that have been spread across different agencies. Some of these contracts have been successful, but others, well, they haven't really had the impact expected.
That's true. One of the main goals is to evaluate and rationalize these contracts. And in some cases, that might mean consolidating or even canceling certain contracts that don't meet the needs anymore. But for the contracts that do work well, there will be more opportunities to build and expand upon them.
So what does that mean for companies who have been working with GSA on smaller or niche contracts? Will they get left behind?
Not at all. GSA is not shutting down the smaller contracts, but they're going to focus on those that provide the most value. The goal is to help agencies streamline their procurement process, which may involve reevaluating some of those smaller contracts. But there will still be opportunities for companies to participate. especially if they bring innovative solutions to the table.
That makes sense. And there's a lot of emphasis on getting industry feedback. How is GSA gathering that?
GSA has set up a clear process for gathering feedback. They've got a section on their website where contractors and stakeholders can submit feedback on new policies. This will be crucial as the FAR rewrite progresses, especially since the goal is to have a lot of changes tested and implemented before the final rulemaking.
So, the feedback loop is ongoing. Industry will have a chance to speak up and share insights that could influence how the rules evolve.
Absolutely. It's a collaborative process. GSA wants to hear from industry so they can make sure the changes actually work in practice. That's why they've been providing updates on Acquisition.gov, where everyone can track the progress and share their input.
Right? And as GSA shifts towards a more unified procurement system, it's important for businesses to stay informed and engaged. These changes aren't happening in a vacuum. They're very much shaped by real-world feedback.
Exactly. And with all of this happening, it's clear that there's going to be a significant shift in how the federal government interacts with the industry. It's not just about simplifying the rules, it's about creating a more agile, responsive procurement system that works for everyone.
Agreed. The future of federal procurement is shaping up to be more efficient, more transparent, and more inclusive. But it's also going to require everyone, agencies, contractors, and stakeholders to stay involved in the process.
Well said. And for those of you tuning in, don't forget to stay engaged with the updates on Acquisition.gov and provide feedback as this transition unfolds. We're all in this together.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll wrap up today's discussion. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to continuing this conversation in future episodes.
Take care, everyone. See you next time.
A special thank you to MarketUS.com for furnishing us this information.
Here's a question. How do we contact them?
Good question. You can reach them at MarketUS.com or call them at 954-636-3232.
Before we go, this deep dive was created by the MarketUS.com team.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Good point. It's right below the subscribe link.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor and sharing your product or service with the world, reach out to MarketUS.com. You can schedule a session to discover how we can work together. See you soon.